all right during the Hunter Academy tournament. He stunned one of the world's most elite hunters. The moment the matches kicked off, everyone knew something was dead wrong. Students charged in waves, throwing every high-level technique they had mastered at him, only to get wrecked by his bare fists. No flashy skills or special weapons, just perfect timing and overwhelming physical power. Officials and guild scouts watching from the VIP seats could not believe their eyes. Then, when he absolutely crushed the academy's top student, the entire arena erupted into pure chaos. Just when the crowd thought the tournament was over, Lee Si-yeon herself stepped onto the stage. She is a world-ranked hunter, a true monster among ordinary students. Unlike the others, she saw it immediately. He was hiding something far scarier than just brute force. Their clash pushed him harder than anyone ever had. His movements finally slowed down. His breath hitched, fatigue started dragging his body toward the ground. That is when he unleashed the terrifying power he had been keeping secret. He ignited a dark black flame, not to burn his opponent, but to incinerate the very concept of exhaustion itself. In a heartbeat, his drained body surged back to life with renewed vigor. His speed returned, his power rose again. For the first time ever, even Lee Si-yeon realized the man standing before her was no ordinary rookie. All right, so how did this guy get so insanely powerful? It all starts with our main character, Hyun Si-hyuk. An announcer's voice blares, ordering everyone to flee to the underground shelters immediately. He is startled until he sees the window is completely covered in monsters. Vicious creatures are swarming the glass, desperately trying to break into his house. Reality hits when the glass finally shatters. Monsters flood inside. He bolts, frantically wondering what these creatures even are as they hunt him down. Survival instincts kick in as he leaps through a window and hides on the ledge, waiting for those monsters to pass him by. Once the coast is clear, he climbs back inside, gasping for air, relieved to have finally escaped those things. Suddenly, he spots a kid nearby. He rushes over, asking what the hell a child is doing in such a deadly place. He urges the kid to rush back to the shelter now. But the boy is only focused on the monster he saw earlier. He actually wants to kill it. He asks Si-hyuk if he wants to help. Si-hyuk just stares at him in pure disgust, wondering what kind of madness this kid is talking about. It turns out Earth has been a literal hellscape for 13 years. Since the kid refuses to go to the shelter, Si-hyuk has no choice but to follow and tag along with the boy. The kid explains that these rifts are called corrosion zones. These rifts are openings where monsters emerge, and nobody knows exactly why they form or when they will suddenly appear. Hearing this news, Si-hyuk realizes he survived a different hellish world just to find Earth in this terrible state. It is a nightmare he never expected to come home to. The kid is shocked he has to explain the basics and asks how he could not know. Si-hyuk lies, claiming he was living over in America. But that just causes more confusion, because traveling from the United States to Korea is currently impossible. The kid gives Si-hyuk a look of pure confusion, having absolutely no idea what he is even talking about. Si-hyuk pivots quickly, shifting the focus away from himself to ask about the specific hunter the boy said he likes. The boy reveals her name is Lee Si-yeon. She is a member of the Jinwoo Guild and currently ranks 10th strongest on the entire planet. Apparently, she wields a massive greatsword and is currently clearing out a corrosion rift in Cheorwon. Watching the boy spill every detail he knows about this famous hunter, Si-hyuk breathes a massive sigh of relief that the attention is finally off his own mysterious past. Still, he is struggling to process that normal humans are fighting monsters here, just like in that other world he left. The kid keeps rambling on, until Si-hyuk suddenly clamps a hand over his mouth, telling him it is time to stop yapping. Peering around a corner, they spot 5 monsters lurking just a short distance away. But Si-hyuk's sharp eyes catch a 6th beast hiding in the shadows, waiting for an ambush. He is just glad his new body actually has a decent amount of raw physical strength, since he is a veteran of fighting multiple foes. Si-hyuk figures taking out these small fries is not going to be much of a problem. However, there is still the kid to worry about. When Si-hyuk looks back, the boy is already shaking. It is hard to believe all that brave talk about killing monsters vanished the second he saw one. Si-hyuk is not sure how to engage since he does not even have a weapon handy. Then suddenly, he catches the distinct scent of mana in the air. Confirming it is the same energy from his previous world, he prepares to strike. He leaps from cover and blasts one of the creatures with a burst of paradox flame. He is so thankful that he can still use the skills that were etched into his very soul back then. The firepower is not quite what it used to be, but it is more than enough to handle the job he has in mind. The monster's head incinerates as it screams, leaving the boy completely awestruck by what he just witnessed. He instantly calls Si-hyuk master, claiming his power must be some unique skill. Si-hyuk realizes that on this version of Earth, rare techniques are labeled as unique. While the monster is still burning, the reckless kid decides he needs to confirm the kill. He charges straight toward the lingering magical flames, while Si-hyuk yells a warning to stay back until the target is actually dead and gone. Just as the boy almost gets burned, Si-hyuk moves like a blur, blocking the fire with his bare hands and taking the hit. He tells the kid to stop believing everything he sees online. Real life is not like the movies. Si-hyuk then takes the staff the boy was holding, swinging it to cut through the monsters lunging at them. He moves with such surgical precision, you would think he was holding a real sword, leaving the boy mesmerized. Wide-eyed, the boy asks if Si-hyuk is actually some kind of secret hunter. Si-hyuk, meanwhile, is not exactly thrilled with how his new life is starting. He has basically landed right back into the same violent cycle he was desperately trying to escape. A bit later, they finally reach the shelter, and Si-hyuk decides this kid is definitely more of a brat than a student. As they cross into the shelter, the boy's mom catches sight of him and screams out his name, Yoon Seong. She sprints toward her son, tearfully thanking Si-hyuk for bringing him back safely because she knows exactly how hard that was. But while the reunion is getting all emotional, Si-hyuk notices her expensive jewelry. This family isn't just lucky, they are loaded. He finally gets why Seong is such a spoiled brat, but then, boom, a monster smashes through the wall. Pure chaos, everyone starts panicking and running for their lives. They cannot believe the outer wall was breached so easily. As people flee, Seong shouts for Si-hyuk to follow them. However, Si-hyuk just stands there, absolutely fuming. He just wanted to live a normal life, but the world keeps trying to mess with him. Pure rage boils inside. Is a quiet life really asking for too much? He looks down at his burned palm, injured from saving that kid, before calling out to him using his favorite nickname, Brat. Si-hyuk asks Seong why he even wants to be a hunter when his family is clearly wealthy. Seriously, the kid could have just stayed in a cozy bunker somewhere without ever lifting a finger to fight. Then, Seong drops the heavy truth. He watched a monster take his father away. A corrosion rift tore right through their high-end underground bunker, destroying everything. Back then, they felt totally safe. But that was the day Seong learned the hard way. Nowhere on this planet is actually safe. He admits he is weak right now, but he plans to become the strongest hunter alive, closing every rift to save the world for good. Seong says this with fire in his eyes, worried that he sounds like a total idiot. But Si-hyuk cuts him off. He tells the kid he will actually be a fantastic hunter. But then he drops a bombshell. Seong will never be the one to save the world. His mom is terrified now, grabbing her son and insisting that they have to leave immediately. Seong hesitates. He can't leave while Si-hyuk is still standing right in the monster's path. Suddenly, a blinding light erupts behind them. They spin around, and their jaws drop. Si-hyuk already erased the beast using his devastating paradox flame. Si-hyuk lets the kid know he won't save the world because Si-hyuk is going to save it first. Wearing a confident smirk, Si-hyuk tells the kid that saving the world is a job for someone who has done it before. Now, here's where you and I see how our hero really spends his downtime. He heads straight home to hide out, eat snacks, and play video games all day. Yeah, he talked a big game about saving humanity earlier. But that drive faded. Fast, who needs glory when you have plenty of ramen and a high-speed internet connection? On top of that, he figures he is not really needed since other hunters are already out there working 24/7. But then, Si-hyuk grabs his phone to order more junk food and realizes the cold truth. He has already spent every cent of his pay. Turns out the original owner of this body worked for a logistics firm. But the place went totally bankrupt after a corrosion rift destroyed the business. You and I can probably guess what happens next. He is officially broke and needs a job fast. Our main character, Si-hyuk, has been hunting for a job. But regular work is basically dead now that those nasty corrosion rifts are popping up everywhere. The truth is, businesses are folding left and right, leaving Si-hyuk completely lost on his next move. While moping in bed, his phone pings with a notification, a massive call for new hunter recruits. Since he actually has some experience, he decides to take his chances at the Hunter Association. When he walks in, the place is packed with hopefuls all dreaming of that hunter life. He overhears a couple of guys gossiping. Apparently, the selection is just a formality. These days, you only get picked if you can show off a totally unique skill. Things feel normal, until the legendary Si-yoon walks through the door, sending the entire crowd into a total state of shock. Everyone is buzzing with excitement. They thought she was still busy clearing out that dangerous corrosion rift over in Cheorwan, so seeing her here is a huge surprise. The rumors start flying. Did the elite Jinwoo B squad send her here personally to scout for fresh talent? But if she is looking for someone specific, who could possibly be worth her time? Turns out, all eyes are on a top academy graduate named Han Song-ae. Her awakened ability, high-voltage electrokinesis. Checking the file, Si-yoon jokes around, asking if she is just useful for charging up dead phone batteries. Her assistant has to step in. She is a hunter, boss, not a portable power generator. He notes the rumors say she is incredibly skilled, making her a potential heavy hitter for their squad. The other assistant cuts in. Rift hunting is real warfare. Academy stars might look good in practice, but the field is different. Plenty of top students absolutely crumble when faced with actual life-or-death combat. Si-yoon loves that logic and tosses him a candy as a reward, much to the other assistant's annoyance. She knows. Training and real combat are worlds apart. It is a brutal reality check. These pampered students have only known safe simulations. Surviving the real thing, that is a whole different story. In her eyes, it will take a long time for Song-ae to actually adjust to the field. A bit later, the host takes the stage to welcome the massive crowd to the arena. As the first match kicks off, Si-yoon watches closely, hoping Song-ae can actually prove her worth today. The host announces that the first candidate is unusual. See, he is just a civilian. No flashy academy background, which is basically unheard of in these parts. He is dying to see if Si-hyuk actually has the guts to survive on this stage. Then, he calls the name out. Si-hyuk is officially introduced to everyone. As his opponent steps up, the host begins laying down the ground rules for this match. No personal gear allowed. You use what the association gives you, or you do not fight at all. Also, lethal injuries, completely banned. Honestly, Si-hyuk just wants to save the world and live a comfortable life on his own terms. To make that happen, the first step is crushing this tournament and getting those results. Once things are set, all right, you and I are about to see a beatdown. Si-hyuk's opponent ignites his spear, mocking our main character. He calls him trash, mocking the fact that Si-hyuk cannot even gather a drop of mana. Before the clash even begins, the guy tells Si-hyuk that losing to him should be considered an honor. He charges forward, boasting loudly as he moves. He claims to be the Hunter Academy's legendary undefeated spear master. Suddenly, the spearman realizes something terrifying. Si-hyuk has completely vanished from his sight. Before he can even react, Si-hyuk reappears at his side, delivering a gut punch that sends a shockwave of agony through him. He follows up instantly with a brutal uppercut, sending the loudmouth crashing toward the floor. The opponent hits his knees, spitting out teeth and clutching his shattered pride. Hyuk is genuinely surprised the guy is already down. He was actually holding back to avoid hurting him, yet he still collapsed. He figures the guy must be a total beginner. He refuses to believe that actual hunters could possibly be this pathetic and weak. Sion caught the whole thing from the stands, and she is completely blown away. She pulls out her tablet immediately to run a full background check on this mysterious fighter. The records show he is just a regular guy from a logistics company with absolutely no mana in his system. Her assistant suggests that Knockout Punch might have just been a lucky shot. Sion shoves trash candy in his mouth, which is her silent way of telling him to shut up. She makes it clear that Seok is intentionally choosing not to use mana. Back on the stage, Seok decides it is time to end this. He needs to prove his competence today. Seok starts closing in on his opponent, and the terrified guy looks like he is about to faint as he sees Seok approaching. Seok calmly assures him that the next blow won't be fatal, so there is no need to worry. Despite his promise to take it easy on the poor guy, Seok puts him to sleep with one hit, securing his first official victory of the tournament. And here is where you and I see the guild's panic. The officials are stunned as they plot their next move. But she plans to beat them to it. She wants to see what this man is truly capable of. She stands up to leave. When her team asks where she is heading, she does not hesitate. She reveals she has an urgent meeting with the association president himself. As the tournament continues, Seok continues to plow through every opponent with absolute ease. He is honestly disappointed by how pathetic these new rookie hunters actually are. No weapons needed. He is just dismantling everyone who stands in his way with his bare hands. He is starting to question the entire curriculum they are teaching over. At the academy, not a single person has put up a decent fight yet. Before long, Seok reaches the grand finals, where he is scheduled to face off against Sangha. The crowd is counting on her to finally end Seok's unstoppable rampage. As soon as Sangha steps onto the platform, Seok gives her a nod, noting she has the most mana out of anyone he has seen so far. Sangha just stares him down. She tells him his luck has finally run out, and there will be no more flukes in this match. She draws her blade, claiming she has figured out his secret. He has no skills, which is why he relies on his fists. But she makes it crystal clear that she has no intention of holding back against him. Seok offers a polite thanks for her concern. You and I know he has a hidden unique skill, but he won't use it. Sangha takes a deep breath and gathers her mana, preparing to unleash absolute hell upon Seok. Once she is ready, she charges straight at Seok, but to her total shock, Seok simply leaps into the air to evade the strike. Sangha can hardly believe it. He basically dodged lightning just by jumping. Seok, on the other hand, is actually impressed. By running an electric current through the blade and its handle, she essentially turned them magnetic. By doing this, she added magnetic force to her sword draw, effectively turning the attack into a human railgun. Seok admits she has been his toughest opponent so far, but points out she is missing one vital detail. He tells her she was way too focused on raw speed. Basically, her mistake was simple. To accelerate her sword even faster, she laid down a visible magnetic rail in thin air. Seok tells her that no matter how fast or powerful an attack is, nobody is stupid enough to get hit by a strike with a path that is clearly visible. Sangha thinks it was just a fluke. She tells him not to get arrogant because she can beat guys like him without even using her best move. She charges toward him again, this time with a slower technique. Seok easily glides past her. He asks if she is slow because he already dodged her fastest attack. Yet here she is, trying to hit him with something even slower. Refusing to lose to Seok, Sangha unleashes a strike that shatters the ground. Seok realizes the girl is pushing her body way past its limits. He knows she is going to get seriously hurt if she keeps this up. Seok decides to wrap things up, saying they have had enough fun for today. He teases her, telling her to raise her left hand if his next move ends up hurting too much. Before she can even blink, Siak is already on her, landing a heavy blow to her. Midsection, completely scrambling her organs. While she struggles to process what just happened, Siak ends the fight with a final punch that sends her flying. Sanga is out cold before she even hits the ground. The crowd is stunned. Nobody expected Siak to totally dominate the top student of the entire academy. Siak turns around to walk off the stage, but suddenly notices that Sanga is lifting her left hand. He remembers his joke about raising her hand if it hurt, and he is genuinely surprised she is actually doing it. Before Siak can leave, the referee receives an urgent update and quickly announces that the tournament schedule has been changed. He tells Siak to take a very short break, leaving Siak confused since the match should be finished. Then, the referee makes an announcement that shocks the building. He reveals a special match against an active hunter. Trust me, you and I are not ready for this. It turns out the identity of this hunter is already being shown on the monitors for the audience to see. The crowd goes wild. You and I can tell this hunter is going to be the real deal. This opponent turns out to be none other than Sion. Siak wonders if she is here to test his limits. Sion steps onto the stage with her massive greatsword, telling him she has to fight to finally confirm his true strength. All right, you and I are jumping in as she introduces herself. She reveals her guild and drops a bombshell, suggesting that she and Siak should have a real match. She lets Siak know that he is free to walk away since this invitation is so sudden. Up close, Siak finally understands why she is ranked 10th worldwide. Her composure and aura are honestly something to behold. He knows his current body isn't ready for a world-class monster like her, but he's not backing down now. Siak doesn't mind the gap and happily accepts the challenge. He suggests starting the duel immediately, leaving the poor referee in total shock. Confident as ever, Siak claims he still has plenty of stamina left for a good fight, since he's aiming for the tournament's absolute best result anyway. Siak figures clashing with Sion is the perfect shortcut to growth. He grips his spear, ready to see if he can raise his market value. 30 minutes into the duel, Siak is still on his feet, but Sion's overwhelming power is starting to crush him. He can't believe he's going up against a woman with such insane, raw physical strength. Still, he managed to push her back once, even though he's noticeably slower now than when they first started. Siak spots clear openings while fighting Sion, but his exhausted body just isn't agile enough to strike them anymore. Drenched in sweat, he looks completely drained after just 30 minutes of holding his own against her. Sion starts teasing him, saying she was hoping for a decent warm-up for the first time in ages. But she's disappointed that Siak is gassing out already. However, she's actually impressed he lasted this long, as she honestly expected him to fold within the first 5 minutes of their clash. Suddenly, Sion lunges forward, looking to end the match right here. As she charges, Siak's mind races. He needs a plan, and he needs it now. He's bone dry on mana, and the ambient energy in the air is far too thin to use. He really didn't want to reveal his unique skill yet. But he's out of options. Just as Sion reaches him, he finally ignites the legendary Paradox Flame. Thanks to that, he narrowly evades her finishing blow at the very last second. Sion is stunned. She was certain that attack was a guaranteed hit, yet he somehow moved out of the way of her perfect strike. Then she sees it, a mysterious black flame flickering across his body, leaving her curious. Siak grins. He's finally using the one power he trusted most before his return to Earth. So, you and I need to understand that Paradox Flame is special. It doesn't burn physical matter like normal fire, and instead chooses a different path. It burns using abstract concepts as its primary fuel source. Right now, Siak can't burn complex ideas like reason or memory just yet. So he chooses the one thing he has plenty of: fatigue. Siak bolts toward Sion, and she realizes he's suddenly moving with impossible speed. He throws a strike so powerful, it forces her to block with everything she has. She can't believe he recovered his strength so fast. The intensity of their battle immediately explodes into a whole new level as their weapons clash with blinding light. Sion notices the thick concentration of. All right, we can see the mana fluctuating wildly, even though the arena settings are totally locked. It is the paradox flame. It leaks mana by burning abstract concepts, just like normal fire pumps out heat when burning matter. Now it is up to Siok to ignite the paradox. The flame then feeds on his fatigue to create more mana, forming an endless loop of power. The two of them keep clashing hard. Every blow shatters the concrete beneath them. This is all thanks to Siok's refusal to give up, since he is already used to these brutal wars of attrition. At one point, Sion asks if he can keep this up. Siok assures her he can. He asks if she likes guys who never quit. Her answer, she absolutely hates them. Just like how wood leaves ash behind. The paradox flame also leaves its own strange residue after burning. Once everything is scorched and only that ash remains, the fire will finally die out. 4 hours of intense combat later, Sion finally manages to knock Siok to the dirt, praising him for holding out against her for that long. With Sion declared the winner, she pulls out a massive lollipop from her pocket and gives it to Siok as a reward for his work. She lets him know her business card is hidden with the candy. Siok checks the card, while she tells him they will discuss the details later. She tells him to call her soon, as the selection trials finally come to an end. Siok is called up to receive his official award. Days later, Siok pulls out his phone to check those card details. He realizes the device pretty much provides everything he needs to know. On his way to meet Sion, a massive guy suddenly steps out and blocks his entire path. Siok asks who he is, but the man just hands over a business card. Siok looks closer. The name on the card is Yun Seong Hyun. He is a partner hunter for the Tibik Guild, and he moves fast. He urges Siok to join his guild, promising the kid will become a total star if he trains under him. Siok stares into his eyes and can tell the man isn't lying. But he remembers he already has business with Sion. He cannot even give a straight answer right away. Siok calmly tells him he will need to think it over. Hyun just laughs, saying he wasn't expecting an immediate answer anyway. Right then, he grabs Siok's shoulder and leans in, telling him to think very carefully. After that ridiculous stunt, he walks off, saying he will see him around. However, stick with me, Siok immediately decides Tibik is not for him and calls Sion to ask where to meet. She tells him to head to the hut, which is on the second floor of the Hunter Association building. A bit later, he arrives at the hut, which is actually a cozy cafe. Sion waves him over, but she immediately notices his strange reaction. She asks if something is wrong. Siok reveals that a giant named Hyun just tried to recruit him. Sion is stunned he showed interest. Sion looks at Siok, making it clear that no other guilds will dare to offer him a spot now. Siok wonders if that cold shoulder applies to her own guild, Janabi, too. Then she drops a bombshell, telling Siok straight up that she has zero interest in recruiting him. This leaves Siok totally confused. If she doesn't want him, why even bother meeting up? Sion explains her real plan. She wants him to work as a solo freelancer without any guild affiliation. She explains further. If he had joined Hyun, he would have likely been stuck in a junior position. Siok is lost. He asks her what the difference is between a junior and a partner hunter. Since Siok never actually attended the Hunter Academy, Sion breaks down the hierarchy, explaining that guild hunters are usually divided into 3 specific tiers. You have the juniors, the seniors, and the partners. Juniors and seniors are just regular team members led by the partner hunters. Essentially, they are just normal employees working for a set salary or hourly wage. But partners, they own a piece of the guild and take a cut of the total net profits instead. To put it in simple terms, you can think of them as business owners. Turns out, the person who first built these guilds used legal law firms as their business model. The twist is, you don't actually need to join a guild or climb the ranks to become a partner hunter. Finally, the light bulb clicks, and Siok understands what she is saying. Basically, if he becomes famous and achieves incredible results, the major guilds will come running to him automatically. Sion nods and hands him a candy. Siak just stares, wondering why this weird woman is giving him sweets. Siak then points out the obvious problem: he has no connections or network at all. Without a name for himself, getting his hands on high-level requests is going to be incredibly difficult. Sion tells him not to worry. She offers to handle that side of things without charging a penny. Siak is stunned, but he is smart enough to realize why Sion would go to these lengths for him. Sion tells him she just wants him to remember Janabi. When he's at the top, he'll remember the guild that backed him first. To put it simply, Sion is doing him a favor now, so he will owe her later. She hands him an envelope, telling him it is his choice to take the mission or walk away. He asks what's inside, and she reveals it's a special request directly from the city of Incheon. Apparently, Jayadongdu Island became a complete nightmare zone 2 years back after a failed attempt to seal a corrosion rift. Siak asks if it is his job to finally get rid of the rift for good. But Sion says no. He just needs to patrol the island and watch for any additional corrosion rifts. If any new ones appear, he takes them out. The mission kicks off in 1 month. Siak gets 5 million upfront, plus 15 million more if he succeeds. Siak isn't impressed. For such a high-risk job, the pay doesn't actually seem that enticing to him. Sion tells him to get stronger and build his reputation, so he can command much higher prices. She asks for his final decision, and just as we expected, he accepts the request. Later on, Sion puts a call through to her boss to report just how insane Siak really is. Her boss asks who he's dealing with. She explains that he is a civilian who crushed the trials barehanded. The boss doesn't think that sounds too crazy in a world full of hunters. But then she drops the real bomb. Siak actually lasted for 4 hours against her in a fight. Even after that, the boss still thinks Siak only lasted so long because Sion was just messing around with him. Sion reminds her boss that she is a veteran with 10 years of experience, and all of that was built on surviving the most hellish places imaginable. She points out that normally, she should be able to toy with Siak, but he actually gave her a real run for her money by lasting 4 hours. Sion admits Siak is incredible. She says she might never get to see another monster quite like him. Her boss is totally done with hearing her glaze Siak and asks if the mission she assigned to him did not require hunters with actual prior mission experience. The boss is worried that even with Siak's skills, he might not be able to cope with hunters who are true veterans. Sion tells her boss not to worry, because she already paired Siak with a reliable partner, a hunter named Sanga. The boss trusts Sion's judgment, knowing she is effectively the brain behind every operation in the guild. He then asks Sion what she thinks Siak would be. Once he reaches her level, Sion is confident. She tells her boss that Siak would probably be able to take him down as well. Flashback to 1 month earlier. Siak receives an order for a new spear and an elixir at his apartment. This elixir is an emergency potion for hunters that contains highly condensed mana, which is a lifesaver when power is needed fast. In this world, handling mana is usually just like drinking water straight from a purifier. Most people control mana in the air, store it in their bodies, and use it when they need to. The elixir in his hand allows him to pull this off in a very short period of time. But here is the thing. You and I should really notice Siak is different. He skips the storage process and absorbs mana directly from the atmosphere. This gives him a huge advantage, no limits, since he is tapping into the mana in the air itself. Plus, there is another bonus. As the mana flows through him and then back out, his internal mana channels gradually strengthen, which eventually allows him to handle even more power. The only downside is that, until those channels grow, his current capacity is still small, making it difficult to produce a really strong output in a short amount of time. Siak decides to use some of the elixir now, since there is no time to waste. He is sure that after a full month of training, his new body will be in peak condition. Fast forward to the present day, where hunters are lining up for identity checks before being allowed onto the island. Once Siak is confirmed, the official tells him he has been assigned to Squad 8. Siak goes to find his group and stays quiet while the rest of the squad is yapping away like a bunch of parrots. Suddenly, he hears a voice calling his name. He looks up and he realizes that it is actually Sanga. She is wearing a sleeveless top, and he spots a large scar running across her shoulder. It turns out they are in the same squad, and Sanga suggests that they work together on this mission. Siak asks her why he should agree to that, so she bluntly reminds him that he is stronger than her. Since he is the powerhouse, she believes she can learn from Siak. He just teases her, saying his shoulder is about to fall off from excessive blushing. You and I have to love Sanga's deadpan reaction. She just asks if his shoulders dislocate often. Siak. He remembers exactly how she actually raised her hand during their match. Man, she has zero sense of humor. Moments later, the squad gathers together while an official briefs them on their specific mission objectives. Since Siak is the new hunter among them, the basics need to be covered. He explains that corrosion rifts are ranked from Class 1 to Class 3 or unclassified. The closer a rift gets to Class 1, the more dangerous it becomes. He adds that the first corrosion rift appearing in a specific area is named Alpha. It turns out that the location of this Alpha corrosion rift is the church in the north. However, he informs them that the current corrosion is still listed as unclassified. Since these rifts grow stronger over time, the official warns them to stay away. He tells them their mission is to patrol the area to identify and eliminate any additional corrosion rifts found. One blonde guy. The squad is shocked they are going on an elimination mission with a total rookie. Before Siak even realizes, he notices the entire squad is acting strange toward him just because he is a newbie. Before they leave, they are told the offshore control room is active and ready for any emergency calls. With that, the hunters are sent off with a wish of luck. Reaching the island, the veterans begin making a plan. But Siak interrupts them, suggesting they set up a base at Hwajiasa Temple so they can operate from there. He shows them the temple on the map, but these seasoned hunters can't believe a rookie is giving them instructions. Besides that, they want to know why the temple, so Siak explains it has a view of the target. Plus, they will be able to see the entire region directly from the mountain peak. He mentions the old temple building is also available for them, so they can just use it for their lodging, which is obviously the smart move. The seasoned hunters immediately start screaming their heads off, telling him that there are plenty of other places for them to stay. One even asks what they'll do if they get surrounded after needlessly climbing a mountain. Siak reminds them they aren't fighting a massive army of thousands here, so there is absolutely no way they are going to get surrounded. Even though Siak is trying to convince them, the hunters let him know they have no reason to follow orders from a rookie so inexperienced. Siak is shocked to find idiots on Earth just like in the other world. Since they won't listen, Siak suggests they just go their separate ways. Siak makes his move and bolts toward the temple, with Sanga following close behind. Surprisingly, the blonde guy from earlier is also tagging along with them, leaving Siak wondering why on earth this guy is even following them. Siak calls out to him by name, Kim Minyi, asking why he is following them. Minyi boasts that he is only following them to keep an eye on them since they are rookies. Siak thanks Minyi for his consideration, surprised that there is actually one decent person on this entire squad. Siak stops dead in his tracks. He signals for the others to freeze right there. Keeping his voice low, he motions for Minyi to carefully scout what's waiting around the corner. What he sees, shocking. The path is crawling with monsters, at least 50 of them. Minyi panics, immediately begging to find a different route. But Siak stays calm. He just looks at Minyi and asks about his unique skill. Minyi is stunned. There's no way this guy is actually thinking about fighting that entire pack alone. Siak just shrugs, aren't hunters supposed to hunt? He stares him down and repeats the question. Tell me, what is your special ability? Flames, Minyi stammers. Then Siak pushes further, wanting to know his most reliable combat move. His ultimate move is the fireball. That brings a smirk to Siak's face. Perfect. On my signal, you're going to blast them. Minhwa immediately starts protesting. This is suicide. There's only 3 of us against 50 monsters. The math just doesn't add up. Plus, it's their very first mission together. He argues they should call for backup, while they still have the chance to use the radio. Seok doesn't even blink. He points out that backup won't make it in time. They came straight from Hwajiasa Temple. The other hunters, they're miles away, searching the coast. Plus, calling for backup is a massive gamble, since there is no real guarantee those hunters would even show up to help. And there's more. If they wait and the monsters scatter, they'll become an even bigger threat to everyone else. Deep down, Minhwa knows he's right. After that massive argument earlier today, nobody is rushing to save their skins. Like it or not, they're the only ones who can take these beasts down. The odds are terrible, disastrous even. But Seok has a plan, a brutal surprise attack to even the playing field. Time is ticking away, so Seok starts sketching a tactical map directly in the dirt. You hit the center with your fireball, he tells Minhwa. I'll handle everything coming from the sides. Looking closely at the plan, Minhwa is completely floored. Seok is predicting every single move, like he's been through 1,000 wars already. The briefing is over. Minhwa doesn't hesitate. He steps out and launches a massive fireball straight into the crowd. Boom, a massive explosion rips through the path, incinerating everything it touches. I'm drained, Minhwa shouts, retreating while his mana slowly starts to recharge. Seok charges in to keep the pressure on, ready that next shot as fast as you can. Minhwa nods, meanwhile Seok. He carves through the surviving monsters like they're made of paper. Pure, ruthless efficiency. For Seok, it's all about the role play, divide and conquer. That's how you stay alive. He holds the front line, buying every precious second for that next fireball to load. He's good, but even he can't block 50 monsters at the exact same time. And that's exactly why teamwork is their only shot. Any beast that slips past Seok's blade meets Sangha, who's waiting right behind him. Finally, Minhwa gives the word. Ready, Seok doesn't waste a second, diving out of the line of fire immediately. Fire, another devastating blast, hammers the enemies, turning the tide of the entire battle. They have cleared out every single enemy in record time. Seok is still giving out compliments when Minhwa suddenly pulls a gun, catching him completely off guard. Before he can actually have a heart attack, Minhwa tells him to step aside, leaving Seok relieved he wasn't about to get shot in the arse. Seok then implants a tiny microchip, revealing that once the area is secured and the mission is over, his contracted junk dealer will show up to collect the remains. Seok has no idea what he means, so Minhwa reveals that hauling heavy loot and monster parts back themselves is just way too much work. Tagging them gives the junk dealers the right to come by after the job and grab anything valuable. Once the items are collected, they appraise the loot, sell it off, and split the profit. The dealers take their cut based on the deal, while the rest goes right back to the hunter. When Seok asks if these guys can be trusted, Minhwa simply explains that finding a reliable junk dealer is the most important part of the contract. Minhwa then praises Seok, admitting he never thought 3 people could take on 50 monsters at once. Suddenly, Seok's danger sense starts screaming that something is wrong. Without hesitation, he grabs Minhwa and dives forward to dodge a lethal strike from a lurking giant. Fortunately, Minhwa is safe, left wondering what just hit them. Look closer at this beast. It is actually a very dangerous mid-level boss. Seok is absolutely stunned by the arrival, wondering if this monster is leading the pack they just cleared away. One look at the beast confirms it's no joke. Its raw mana level is on a completely different level from the ones they just fought. Instantly, he orders the others to stay back while he handles the monster alone. The duo thinks a pincer attack is the best play here, but Seok isn't having it. He barks at them to back off unless they want to go home in body bags. His deadly serious tone sends them scrambling back as Seok quickly calculates the odds. He knows that fighting solo is the only way he can truly win this fight. With no one in his way, He decides it's finally time to unleash the paradox flame. Once Siak is ready, he taunts the beast, inviting it to strike. Moments later, Minya worries that Siak might actually be in over his head. Sangha shuts that down immediately. It might look rough, but Siak hasn't actually taken a single hit yet. On top of that, he's effortlessly dodging lethal strikes that would have easily crushed her into the dirt. He's basically attacking and evading in one fluid motion. She also notices that every time his spear connects, strange black flames erupt, leaving her questioning his power. The more the flames burn, the slower the beast becomes. At first, it looked like a struggle. But it's clear now that he's just playing with his food. Sangha is totally blown away. Sangha flat out refuses to believe that Siak is a rookie hunter just like her. Once Siak finishes toying around with the monster, he tosses his spear high, while the beast charges toward him at a terrifying, full-speed dash. Sangha panics, thinking the beast will strike him down, but just as it reaches Siak, it gets completely crushed by the falling spear. Siak didn't even flinch, showing everyone how confident he is. He praises the monster for moving despite having burned through every bit of its strength. Now, Siak decides it is time to finish things. Minya is left standing there, completely overwhelmed by it. Seriously, you and I have to wonder how he crushed such a massive beast so easily. After Siak is finished taking down the target, he asks Minya if it's normal for high-tier monsters to show up on the island. Minya admits he was wondering the same thing, especially since this beast wasn't even the core of the corrosion rift. He says it might have been possible if they were dealing with a rift that was at least grade 3. Siak then realizes that during the briefing, he heard the alpha corrosion rift was actually unclassified. Since that is true, Siak warns the group that the island's rift has already evolved into a grade 3 threat. Sangha denies this because the mission briefing had stated otherwise. But Siak urges her to look at the situation rationally. There is no other way to explain this unless the corrosion is grade 3. Minya freaks out because the gap between unclassified and grade 3 is like night and day. This means every hunter is at risk and might not make it back to civilization alive. Minya begs him to save the others, since you and I know they stand a chance with Siak's skills. But Siak rejects the idea immediately, saying he is not interested. Minya asks why he is refusing, and Siak explains that there is absolutely no way he can rescue every single hunter on this island alone. He reminds Minya that he is only human with his own limits. He reminds them that their mission is not to save hunters. They are here to find and destroy any new rifts that have appeared. Additionally, he reminds them that obviously not everyone survives this work, and it's literally written in the job memo. Sangha then asks Siak what he would do if he were in their position. Siak doesn't get her point, so she tells him that in their shoes he would have begged to be rescued, but with a stern voice, Siak makes it clear he isn't refusing because he simply lacks empathy. He explains that he is just being realistic because in this world, some deaths are simply and totally unavoidable. He tells them that once you face a death like that, it's normal to just die. Stop leading with your emotions, because they won't survive long in this cruel world if they keep operating with that soft mindset. Later that night, they reach the temple, and after checking the area, Siak confirms to the group that the building is safe. Minya notes that you and I can see the other hunters because their lights are still visible. But, alright, so Siak isn't feeling this plan at all. Using lights out here is basically screaming, "Eat me," to the enemies. He knows the team can handle the small fry just fine. But a massive boss showing up again, that's what's keeping him up at night. So, Siak sends out a grim warning. This rift might have just mutated into a dangerous grade 3 threat. He's dead serious. Stay in the dark or you're just begging to get hunted down. Then he asks Minya if the small fry vanish once the core is smashed. Minya gives the green light. Without the energy bleeding from the rift, the whole corrupted zone is history, it's gone. Hearing that, Siak keeps it simple. Get in, smash the corrosion rift, and get the job done. Later that night, while the others are fast asleep, Siak prepares his quiet exit. He drops a proximity alarm to stay safe, figuring he can slip away, finish the job, and return before anyone even realizes he's gone. As he ghosts through the forest, he's glad he memorized the Alpha Rift's location during that briefing. No time for getting lost. He actually thinks this might be easy. Huge mistake. He totally jinxed himself, running straight into a boss monster that makes the last one look like a puppy. Back at the Hunter Association control room, things are falling apart. Team 5 has gone dark, and everyone's assuming the absolute worst at this point. And it gets even worse. The monsters are actually organizing, and Team 3 just confirmed their first casualty. The situation is spiraling fast. The team leader is losing it, screaming because this was supposed to be simple. Just a standard investigation of an unclassified rift. Now, it's a bloodbath. Panicking, he pulls the emergency lever. They need reinforcements, and they need them right now. He demands they activate the emergency contact network. Every hunter in the area needs to drop what they're doing and help. But get this, a report comes in that someone's already approaching the Alpha Rift solo. The team leader is freaking out. He orders them to find out who it is and stop them immediately. That's when the identity hits the screen. It's Siak from Team 8, charging in solo. The leader shouts to patch into Siak's terminal. He needs to know if the kid's even alive. He's shocked that Siak realized the rift had upgraded first. That kind of intuition is completely unheard of. If Siak is the only one moving toward that alpha core right now, it basically shows he's the only one who actually knows how to fix this. By the time they finally connect, Siak is already throwing down with that terrifying new beast. Siak screams at the control room, calling them total idiots for failing to realize this rift was way more dangerous than their crappy initial report. He's tearing into them so hard that the officials actually consider muting his entire feed. While dodging the beast's attacks, Siak realizes his paradox flame alone isn't going to be enough to finish this thing. He'll have to burn away its health first, then dive in with his spear for the kill. However, Siak is in a tight spot since he drained the island's mana fighting that previous mid-level boss. His paradox flame is flickering, and he is stuck on this island. Our guy needs a new source of energy, and fast. After several minutes of searching the area, he finally tracks down the Alpha Rift. Without a second thought, Siak plunges in, telling the beast to try and keep up with him. Back at the command center, the staff panics as his tracking signal dies, realizing he just entered a corrosion zone. Once he makes it inside, Siak is actually stunned by how clean the rift looks. It is massive. If an unclassified rift is this huge, what are the high-level ones like? Right then, the boss appears, and Siak knows it is time to finish this. See, Paradox Flame has one major flaw. It burns everyone except the user. It might burn his allies or grow too wild to control. That is the only real catch here. But flying solo, the drawback vanishes. He can just let loose and go wild. He swings his weapon, unleashing a massive fire wave while drinking in the surrounding mana. This expansion blows his mana circuits wide open. He is stronger. One breath shows him what he was missing. The beast shrieks, and Siak knows exactly what it is doing. Within seconds, monsters swarm in. That scream was a call for backup. But Siak tells the boss that numbers mean nothing now. He creates a fire barrier, vaporizing the mobs while claiming he is finally evolving. He is not at his old power yet, but getting close. Minna warned that the core would be the strongest beast. Suddenly, a talking monster strikes from behind, but he dodges just in time. He spins around to see a hideous creature staring back. He is impressed. This thing is smart enough to wait for his flames to die. Looking closer, he realizes he is standing right in front of the rift's core. With this much power, a 4-hit combo is possible, so he makes his move. He launches his spear, but the monster manages to block the strike. The pressure holds, and Siak triggers his dual orbit spear. Then, Massive energy shatters the monster's weapon and tears right through its chest, ending it. It turns out that this skill creates a blue energy trail that follows his every move. It mimics the first strike, hitting 4 times. It basically repeats the attack 4 times, even if that blue trail is delayed. He pulls off a complex 2-step spear move that is basically impossible to avoid. Right now, the beast is midair, lunging at Siak with a lethal, bone-crushing strike. But that was a fatal error. The spear swings back around at the perfect moment. Siak snatches the weapon, landing a massive blow that carves through the beast before shattering its body into a million pieces. Incredible. Instead of vanishing like usual, the monster leaves behind a mysterious reward box for Siak. Meanwhile, the control room is losing it. They think they're doomed as those monsters continue to spread. The staff can only watch, praying that maybe a miracle can save them. Since they denied his request for reinforcements, the entire hunter squad is about to be annihilated. Suddenly, the team leader gets word. Siak, the guy who went into that rift, just sent a message. Let's look as they pull his mission requirements onto the main screen. To their utter disbelief, Siak reports that the alpha corrosion has already been dealt with. And just like that, the signals confirm the rift is gone. Every single monster on the field starts vanishing into thin air. The leader is completely stunned. It is the exact miracle he was begging for, happening right before his eyes. But how on earth did Siak do it? Rewind a bit. Sangye and Minna were trapped, surrounded on all sides by a savage monster horde. With Siak gone and nowhere to be found, Minna turns to Sangye, terrified, asking if there is any way they're getting out of this alive. Sang can see he is at his limit. Honestly, she doesn't know how much longer she can hold on. A monster lunges forward. Sang tries to brace herself, but then she realizes the cold, hard truth. Her body is completely spent. She is at her absolute limit, and her legs refuse to move. She just shuts her eyes, waiting for the end to come. But here is the twist. Siak crushed the core. Right then, every single monster in the area began to vanish. Later, Siak makes it back to the hunter base. He sees the place is packed with wounded survivors. It is clear those corrosion beasts went on a total rampage while he was inside the rift. All those hunters who doubted him before now have the news. They know he is the one who cleared the entire rift all by himself. They're in total shock. After all, we're talking about a grade 3 rift. That's not something a rookie should be able to handle alone. Siak finally regroups with his team. Minna is still losing his mind that Siak handled that rift solo. Siak just shrugs it off, telling him his heart simply wanted to do the right thing. Since everything worked out, Siak decided he might as well lean into this whole hero persona for now. They're still talking when a suit shows up. He introduces himself as Byeon Jong-tae from the Korea Operating Corporation. Honestly, he is the 3rd branch manager for the Northern Incheon region. Byeon informs Siak that the mayor would like to have a private word. A bit later, Siak pulls up to the mayor's office in a heavy downpour. But he doesn't care about the rain. He's here to renegotiate that reward of his. Inside the building, he's greeted by a man named Lee Pil-yi. He's the team's official communications and liaison officer. On the way to the office, Pil-yi mentions that the mayor is dying to meet him. Apparently, the old man was floored when he saw the report from that island. It seems that the mayor cleared his entire schedule just to see him. Talk about a warm welcome. Siak just teases him, saying it wasn't a big deal and he didn't do anything special. Pil-yi tells him to get real, for a rookie hunter soloing a grade 3 corrosion rift. That hasn't happened since the legends from the very beginning were still around. Siak is actually surprised. Knowing someone else pulled it off before, he figures that person must have been the real deal. A few moments later, they finally arrive at the mayor's office. The mayor, Park Jin, greets them warmly while apologizing for the terrible weather outside. Jin gestures for Siak to sit down, then tells Pil-yi to go fetch them some coffee. With the room empty, the mayor praises him, saying he's done a massive favor for the entire country. He admits that island was a nightmare to manage since their budget was always tight, making it impossible to hire top-tier guilds. Siak replies that he is sure the man is happy that the issue is gone, especially since it was handled at such a low cost. Jin laughs, admitting it while asking if it was really his very first mission. Siak simply nods and says yes. The mayor stands up in pure excitement, saying he is proud of Siak because his journey as a hunter started in Incheon. He goes on about how Korea is the safest place on earth, leaving Siak to wonder what is suddenly wrong with this guy. The mayor explains that Incheon is the heart of the country, acting as its primary trade center. On top of that, the new economic zone project is pulling in investors from all over the globe. Actually, there are so many investors it is hard to choose just one. The mayor tells Siak that massive funds are flooding the city. Jin then promises to give Siak all the support he needs to make his life as a hunter smooth sailing. Earlier, on their way to the office, Byeon had asked Siak why he even wanted to be a hunter. Siak's answer, simple, someone always has to be the one to clean the clogged toilets. Hearing that, Byeon tells Siak that he's destined to become a massive star in no time. He knows that major companies will soon be begging him to do commercials or wanting him to star on all the famous television shows. Siak realizes Byeon is just worried about him changing, and Byeon admits that's exactly it. He explains that it is common for talented hunters to get drunk on fame and honor, completely forgetting their original duty. To him, it's not even surprising, it's just human nature. He adds that Korea is the last safe haven, basically the final sanctuary left on this planet. Byeon reminds him that his feat is incredible, and now, the entire world will be watching him closely. Finally, he tells Siak that he hopes he continues to be a true symbol of hope. Back in the present, inside the mayor's office, Siak realizes the mayor is laying all his cards on the table without any hesitation. But he knows the mayor will soon learn that he is not someone easily bought by pretty words. After all, Siak has lived long. He endured countless hardships, making all this feel like child's play to him. Siak cuts straight to the point, asking the mayor what he wants in return since there's no way this support comes for free. He goes on the offensive, telling the mayor that he's clearly just trying to boost his approval ratings for the next election. The mayor is shocked by how much he knows, but Siak coolly mentions that anyone can find this info on their phone. The mayor is absolutely floored by his knowledge and asks Siak if he truly believes he can get by without official city hall approval. And as it turns out, the politician actually has a point. As a rookie, Siak needs official permission just to participate in missions. Siak realizes the mayor could easily spin this as finding a local talent right in Incheon. The mayor then starts bragging about his deep connections with massive companies both at home and abroad. He taps a coffee packet on the table, explaining that the famous model currently fronting the brand is about to see her contract expire. His grand plan is simple. He wants Siak to be the new face of the company. He's about to keep going when Siak suddenly slams his coffee cup down, asking the mayor if he really thinks he's that cheap of a person. The mayor is completely baffled. Siak explains that with the way the world is falling apart right now, humanity needs someone who can actually clear the gloom, not just sell coffee. He reminds the mayor that if he keeps climbing the ranks as a hunter, he'll get everything being offered and more without having to play celebrity. Siak stands to leave while the mayor desperately offers him safe, high-paying jobs to stay. Siak just scoffs, calling the offers trash and telling him to give them to his coffee model. Meanwhile, a mysterious man receives word that their secret test on the island failed because of Siak's intervention. They manage to pull up a clip from the selection trials, and the stranger's eyes lock onto the black flames flickering around Siak's body. Now in this world, the start of every single month is a massive event. The national rankings update, and the entire country stops to watch the results. The anticipation is through the roof, because everyone wants to see who the new number one is. Even if the top spots don't shift much, It's still the ultimate form of entertainment for the masses. Sion is glued to the screen too, wondering if Seok actually managed to make the list. But in the end, the results turn out to be completely different. Sion lands at number 10, while Kim Cha-hyun takes the 5th spot. Choi Urium holds 3rd, with Jang Tae-seok sitting comfortably in 2nd place. And taking the absolute top spot, it's none other than Siwoo himself. This massive achievement earns him a huge press conference, where the media is hungry for answers. All eyes are on Siwoo now, a total rookie who managed to clear a grade 3 rift all by himself. Reporters bombard Siwoo with endless questions about how he cleared that rift, until he finally signals that he'll only take one last inquiry. The reporter asks about his future resolution, and he simply promises to keep doing his best. Later, Association President Moon invites Siwoo on a private tour of a high-security facility. He leads him to the site where Gansel's prison was once located. Staring down into the massive crater where the monster once resided, Moon warns the young hunter that this dark void represents the future fate of many nations. Apparently, most nations just collapsed once those massive corrosion rifts started tearing everything apart. But South Korea, they became a powerhouse, holding the line against the chaos, even pushing their tech further. Moon explains that this helicopter is a prime example of their national strength. It runs entirely on mana and blocks out every bit of outside noise. Siwoo wonders if this ruin is what remains of the failed countries. Moon just nods solemnly. It turns out many capitals simply vanished when the rifts opened up. Moon suggests they get closer. As they hover over the massive crater, he speaks. He mentions the 8 deadliest rifts on Earth, and Gansel Prison is right at the top. This nightmare zone formed 13 years ago without any warning at all. It swallowed the city before anyone knew what was happening. Some survived at first, but the whole area became a corrosion zone, and they were quickly wiped out. Within days, a whole city was gone. As they fly off, Moon keeps talking. Global power hasn't shifted much, but the old central governments are definitely losing their grip. Deep down, Siwoo is glad for the intel, even if the timing feels a bit strange. He still doesn't get why they had to visit this graveyard just to talk. That's when Moon drops a bomb. Hyun from the T-Beak Guild came by recently, and he's furious Siwoo rejected their offer. He was even hunting for Siwoo's location. Luckily, Moon didn't cave. He kept that personal info locked down tight for him. He warns Siwoo that T-Beak isn't your average guild. They live by the law of the jungle. Survival of the fittest is everything. If Siwoo won't play ball, they might just try to break him instead. Siwoo can't believe they'd go that far, but he's definitely on high alert. Deep inside, he knows he's not ready to go head-to-head with Hyun. Moon notices that Siwoo seems like a total lone wolf, who hates being tied down by anyone. Siwoo confirms it. He wants to do things his own way, no strings attached. But to keep T-Beak off his back, he needs to start playing in a much higher league. He suggests taking on special missions directly from the association president to build up his official status. Siwoo isn't surprised at all. He knew Moon had an ulterior motive for this little field trip today. He cuts right to the chase. What does Moon really want in exchange for giving him these high-level missions? Moon just smiles and says it's a simple favor. He just wants Siwoo to remember who helped him out. He hands over an envelope, telling the young man to check the contents inside. Siwoo realizes this is a golden ticket, a deal with the president, not bad. It is the perfect way to build status fast. When asked for the details, Moon explains he needs Siwoo to escort a high-value cargo ship from Busan all the way to Nanning City. He notes that travel is a nightmare now, with rifts popping up on every corner. Siwoo scans the manifest and realizes it's all luxury goods and high-end items, including a whole car. This is quite the haul. Siwoo is. Trust me, Siwoo is totally baffled by this, shocked at what people still consider a necessity. Moon just shrugs, explaining that for some people, every single thing on that list is essential. Moon expects Siwoo to understand this. But our boy isn't buying it. Why care about this stuff when the government is already in pieces? The entire country is basically in ruins right now. Moon admits countries are collapsing from the rifts, but there is a catch. It doesn't mean international politics have just vanished into thin air. Suddenly, Siwoo connects the dots. This whole mission is just diplomatic bait. Since that's the deal, Siwoo unbuckles his seatbelt. He's got zero interest in playing these political games. Moon is stunned. He tries to let Siwoo know that the Korean government is taking this very seriously. But even then, Siwoo doesn't give a single damn. He tells the old man straight up, only a fool would get tangled in international politics. Now the old man is furious. He reminds this kid he's just a rookie hunter who only just made his debut yesterday. But Siwoo doesn't care. He literally tosses the mission papers right out of the helicopter. Then he slides the door open and thanks the old man for the lift. Oh, and one more thing, he's just going to swim back to Seoul. Without a second thought, Siwoo dives from the chopper into the ocean, leaving Moon staring in disbelief. A bit later, Siwoo pops up near Incheon Airport and casually climbs out of the chilly water. He greets a worker like it's a normal Tuesday. He knows people might come after him soon, though. So Siwoo decides his first priority is getting much stronger. He plans to grind the toughest, trickiest missions until he becomes a real powerhouse that no one can ever push around again. He checks through his phone and quickly spots a mission that actually catches his eye. It's a rescue op for hostages on Tsushima Island. Estimated difficulty, a dangerous grade 2. Siwoo takes a deep breath. It looks like he's going to be pretty busy for a while. Back on September 3rd, fishermen from Jeoja and Tangyong headed out to the open sea. But things were wrong. Dangerous corrosion creatures from Tsushima appeared and started a hunt of their own. They were snatching the fishermen up like they were prey. A survivor who barely made it out says the others are surprisingly still alive in there. The mission is simple: get to Tsushima Island, save the hostages, and wipe out that corrosion rift for good. As for the pay, it's 55 million won. If he clears this solo, every single cent of that money goes straight to him. Plus, pulling off a solo grade 2 mission would turn him into an instant hero. It's a tempting challenge, don't you think? But Siwoo remembers the warnings about these rift grades and their creatures. They say a grade 3 rift has the raw destructive power of a military tank. But grade 2, that's basically a walking, breathing natural disaster. And grade 1, you'd need the entire country's army just to stop a single monster. He handled grade 3 thanks to his paradox flame, but this is different. Can he really survive a grade 2 beast all on his own? To stay safe, Siwoo realizes he needs someone actually useful on his side. But the real hurdle is finding a pro willing to take a request from a civilian. He wonders if the city is truly empty of talent until it finally hits him. There is one person. Not long after. All right, you and I are watching Siwoo and Sangha board a ship for their target destination. Sangha asks about their arrival time, and he tells her they have about 1 hour left to prep. He warns her to rest up now. This battle is going to be way more intense than their last encounter. While Siwoo is laying out the plan, Sangha is completely distracted by that weird metal pad on his shoulder. She asks about it because, at a single glance, that gear is clearly a rare limited edition. How did a guy like him even get it? Siwoo is already over the girl's constant chatter, so he is finally forced to admit that his contact, a local junk dealer, gave it to him as a little parting gift. Sangha is stunned. Her own contractor didn't even give her a single piece of useful equipment. Siwoo just smirks and starts teasing her. He is a rising star who cleared a grade 3 rift solo, so naturally, expectations for him are higher. Unlike her, just a rookie whose only claim to fame is being a valedictorian at the academy. He notices the ice-cold look on her face. He knows he hit a nerve with that last insult. But he tells her to use that anger, get stronger and get famous if she wants more respect. Flashback to a few days ago, when Siwoo first reached out to Sangha about joining his team. Sangha hesitated, they almost died last time. They barely survived a grade 3 rift, and now Siwoo wants to jump straight into grade 2. But Siwoo knows her weakness. He asks her if she is truly interested in gaining power. He promises her that he can make her stronger than she ever thought possible. It turns out Sangha has her own secret reasons for wanting strength. She would literally dive into the pits of hell if it meant reaching the next level. Sudden shift. The ship's alarm blares. An unidentified object is dead ahead, and they are closing in fast. Before they know it, they are surrounded by 5 enemy vessels. Siwoo is trying to plan their next move, but he freezes when he sees Sangha literally floating in midair. Sangha realizes Siwoo can't fly, and she is blushing with joy. Finally, she found something the genius can't actually do. She starts laughing out loud, having the time of her life mocking Siwoo's lack of flight. To move faster, she has to carry Siwoo on her back, and once they get closer, he tells her to handle the lead ship. Sangha asks why, so he explains that the ships in the back look way more dangerous than the ones right in front. Sangha nods and dives in, but as she gets closer, she spots a human figure. Siwoo warns her to look closer. Whatever that thing is, it is definitely not a person. Siwoo boards the ship he is targeting, and just as he suspected, it is crawling with transformed humans. These things have lost their humanity, becoming nothing but mindless, aggressive beasts. Sangha lands on her ship with a bang, instantly alerting every monster. The monsters swarm, but Siwoo shreds through the first wave like it's nothing. He figures these are just low-level fodder, but wonders if Sangha is playing it too safe. To his surprise, Sangha is going all out against these total weaklings. Siwoo immediately calls her name to warn her. He tells her she is burning through way too much mana. If she keeps it up, she is going to be completely drained in no time. He explains that for this current level, she only needs a tiny bit of power. Sangha recalls his promise to make her stronger, taking Siwoo's instructions to heart. She dials back the firepower, but Siwoo tells her it is still too much, since life for the weak is nothing but a tragedy. Sangha decides right then she will never be helpless ever again. While tearing through enemies, she declares her burning desire to grow even stronger. Soon the monsters are gone. She turns to Siwoo, asking if it is over. Siwoo just shrugs, telling her he already handled the other boats himself. Sangha reluctantly thanks him, admitting his advice actually helped her out a lot. Siwoo just smirks. He says she shouldn't thank him because the world is full of people who would not learn a thing even if he spoon-fed it to them. Sangha admits this is the first real advice she's ever received. Siwoo's genuinely shocked. He asks what they actually taught her at the academy. She reveals that because she was such a fast learner, the teachers never even bothered teaching her the fundamentals. Siwoo teases her, asking if she's worried about getting stronger. Then he is if he keeps training her like this. With tears in her eyes, she says she has never surpassed a single teacher before. Siwoo is surprised to see the girl getting so emotional. He tells her not to worry. That is definitely not going to happen with him. He is going to make sure she stays looking up to him for her whole life. Just as they are about to move further in, the sailors promise to stay on guard in case they are needed. Before they kick things off, Siwoo mentions that according to the survivor, the hostages are at the shrine, but Sangha says there are 2. The Gaijin and Adazumi shrines, judging by the distance. Siwoo decides the Gaijin shrine is their first stop. Sangha warns him it's a 2-hour walk. The walking part isn't a problem for Siwoo. The real issue is the trip back. They will have 15 hostages to protect according to the report. Plus, Siwoo can feel a dark mana looming behind the fog. He's certain those corrosion creatures will hunt them down like crazy. Siwoo is hunting for a solution when he spots a vehicle nearby. Suddenly, everything becomes crystal clear. He asks if she can drive, she says yes, and then Siwoo is already screaming for his life, because Sangha is driving that vehicle like a total maniac. She just laughs, telling him to take the wheel if he's not happy, but Siwoo, no way. All right, you and I are about to see a wild chase as he leaps onto the roof. Siwoo pulls out an arrow sling and launches a projectile at the beasts. That hit takes out several monsters, and pulling it back creates the exact same carnage. Suddenly, Siwak spots more monsters lunging from the left and shouts a warning to Sangha. Sangha proves she is a total lunatic behind the wheel, pulling dangerous stunts to escape. She actually tips the bus onto 2 wheels just to scrape those monsters away. At this point, Siwak is seriously wishing he was the one in the driver's seat. As they tear down the desolate roads, the monsters stay glued to their trail. They are swarming after the bus like a pack of hungry ants on sugar. It is not long before they finally arrive. Sangha points out the monsters behind, but Siwak tells her he has got this covered. Sangha slams the bus right into the shrine. Siwak immediately fires off the paradox flame to seal the entrance, incinerating anything that gets close. A few moments later, they locate the hostages tied up inside. Sangha walks over to introduce herself as their savior. But instead of being happy, the hostages start acting in a very strange way. Tears stream down their faces as they beg her to run, leaving Sangha totally confused. She has no idea. A massive samurai monster has materialized behind her, ready to cut her in half. Luckily, Siwak is fast enough to block that lethal strike just in time. He tells Sangha to get the survivors to the car while he deals with this giant. An intense duel between the samurai and Siwak breaks out immediately. The samurai is huge and intimidating, but Siwak does not show even a hint of fear. Suddenly, Sangha comes charging in and rams the samurai with the bus, knocking him flat. Siwak is impressed by her quick thinking, but she just tells him to get in. The hostages are safe inside, while Siwak takes his position back on the roof. Things seem fine until they realize a massive horde is waiting for them up ahead. To make matters worse, Siwak sees that the samurai survived getting hit by a car. Facing a wall of monsters, Siwak tells Sangha to hand over her sword. Sangha is shocked, for a swordsman, being asked for your blade is a huge insult. He then asks, what matters more, her pride or the lives of these hostages? Sangha has no choice but to hand it over, and Siwak grabs the blade tightly. You might notice a strange device on his wrist. He did not want to reveal it so early, but he realizes he is out of options. That glove was actually inside the box he got on the island after the core fight. This is no ordinary gear. It can literally absorb mana from the surrounding air. When he first saw it, he thought it was just a backup battery, but it is way more than that. The glove can store a maximum of 5 minutes worth of pure power. During those 5 minutes, he can reach the same insane level of strength as Siwon himself. Now, let's watch as he prepares to show us exactly why you don't mess with him. Siwak unleashes a crushing blow, absolutely obliterating the swarm of monsters. He cuts them all down in one flash. Sangha stands there, frozen in total disbelief at the sheer power she just witnessed. With the path finally cleared, Siwak orders Sangha to floor it toward the port and never look back. As they drive, even Siwak is shocked. These corrupted monsters just keep coming without end. They are relentlessly hunting them down. Sangha shouts that the car is falling apart. She thinks they need to jump out and fight before the engine gives up. But Siwak tells her to keep driving, and right at that moment, they pass through a strange barrier that somehow locks the monsters on the outside. The monsters cannot break through, while their vehicle just cruises away without a single scratch. Sangha is absolutely stunned. She frantically looks around, trying to figure out why the monsters suddenly hit a wall. Then she notices a glowing mark on the wall. Could that symbol be the reason? It hits her right before they left the scene. Siwak had carved that very mark, calling it a protective formation geometry. Back then, she had asked him what it was. He told her it was simply a way to keep monsters away. Naturally, she was curious and asked where he learned such a thing. Siwak just shrugged it off, saying she would not understand even if he explained. The truth, he mastered that skill back during his time in the other world. Back in the present, Sangha asks if this trick works on every single monster. Not quite. Siwak warns her that this barrier will not stop the truly dangerous ones. Just as he says that, the samurai walks through the barrier like it is not even there. The samurai's right. Eye begins to glow, and a red laser locks onto their speeding vehicle. Sanga recognizes it instantly. That is the legendary technique, the mind's eye. Siwak is a bit confused, but he can feel the air turning cold and deadly. He is not intimidated at all, but then he notices Sanga is actually trembling from the sheer pressure of it. She explains that the mind's eye allows someone to predict every single move. Masters find it nearly impossible, but seeing Sanga shaking like a leaf, Siwak steps in. Siwak tells her to calm down. To him, techniques like that are just flashy tricks. He tells her to watch carefully. He is about to show her how to handle this. Siwak's eyes begin to glow. Suddenly, the samurai is the one feeling pure terror. He starts swinging his blade at nothing. Meanwhile, Siwak just casually strolls toward him. He explains to Sanga that real skill comes from years of raw experience. In short, that technique only reacts to things like hostility or fear. Since the samurai cannot feel any intent from him, he just stands there confused. Siwak explains that skills like the mind's eye and the heart sword, and even the state of selflessness, they are all basically cousins. Siwak approaches without a shred of malice and easily cuts him down in one strike. The samurai is completely shattered by Siwak's overwhelming power. He casually tells Sanga that all those high-level techniques are nothing special. He says the illusion of enlightenment is truly terrifying. Some people get way too excited over flashy names, and then they just stop pushing their own limits. Siwak reminds Sanga that true power on the battlefield never needs a fancy label to be effective. Siwak can only say this with such confidence because he had to sacrifice so much just to escape that deadly trap. He admits the samurai is actually tough. After all, the guy survived getting hit by a literal car. But it is a total pity that his ultimate technique, the one he is relying on so heavily, is nothing more than the mind's eye. After hearing all this, Sanga falls silent. She falls into deep self-reflection, wondering what she actually managed to achieve during the whole hunt. Sanga immediately realizes that she can't reach the top with this kind of half-hearted determination, since she has such a precious goal to pursue. She bows and humbly asks Siwak to truly teach her for real this time. Siwak is genuinely surprised because he thought he was already in the middle of teaching her. But Sanga makes it clear, she wants direct guidance now, not just a few pieces of advice. She has seen how weak she really is, and knows she needs to get stronger at lightning speed. Siwak asks her what the reason for the rush is, and she reveals her plan to crush Club Shitty with her own 2 hands. Turns out, Club Shitty is among the 8 worst corrosion rifts in the entire world. It was famous for swallowing the massive Himalayas in a single, terrifying breath. Siwak knows her goal is huge, and he wonders if this is all for simple revenge. Sanga confirms it immediately. Vengeance for her fallen family is the only thing driving her now. She brings out a card, letting Siwak know she is not asking for his help for free. Siwak looks at the card and realizes it belongs to the KY Group with a massive market cap of 257 trillion. Sanga mentions that this is the global corporation that her family actually owns. Siwak is completely shocked to find out Sanga is the daughter of such a prominent family. Her grandfather owns it, but she says she gave up on the family succession competition a while ago. Siwak figures out that Sanga might be forced back into that battle if she succeeds as a hunter. He then asks her what she wants from him exactly, and Sanga asks him to make her the best, promising rare elixirs in return. She promises to get him things that are impossible to find, like high-grade elixirs never released through general public distribution channels. Since Siwak is also looking to increase his own strength, Sanga tells him that it will finally become possible for him with the types of elixirs she is going to provide. Siwak realizes she wouldn't even believe him if he said he already reached the level he wanted. The biggest reason he was striving so hard to get strong was just to return Earth to the way it used to be. Siwak shakes Sanga's hand to let her know they officially have a deal. He hands her a list of everything he needs and suggests they take those hostages to the hospital for treatment first. After dropping the hostages off at the hospital, Sanga asks the doctor how long recovery will take for the 7 patients currently suffering from such severe nutritional deficiencies. The doctor says it will be at least a week before any kind of conversation with them is even possible. He assures the two that they will be the very first to know when. The hostages finally wake up, but for now, they absolutely must be allowed to rest. Siwok agrees with the doctor and calls Sangha to follow. Their real training starts right now. Once they reach a quiet spot to train, Si-young pauses to ask Sangha one very important question. He looks her in the eye and asks if she can dodge his spear at full power. Sangha hesitates, admitting that sounds like a total nightmare. After all, the power gap between them is just way too massive. But Si-young tells her it is possible if she pushes every single sense to the absolute limit. He explains she has to see, hear, and even smell the battlefield around her. And feel everything with her skin. Once she masters that, she will finally be fighting with true consciousness, not just blind instinct. With the explanation over, Si-young decides it is finally time to put her to the test. Before Sangha can even blink, Si-young vanishes right in front of her eyes. She spins around, totally lost, until he suddenly reappears right behind her back. He points his spear directly at her neck while coldly telling her that she just got it all wrong because she was way too slow. The rule is simple: senses react first and thoughts come in later. In a real fight, there is no time to think. You must accept your senses and move. Any sense you have not mastered yet is just a lie waiting to betray you. Enough talk. Si-young decides it is time to shift gears into the practical training. Meanwhile, the security guard watching them practice is completely and utterly stunned by the display. Even when his partner joins him, they are both left staring in total shock. The entire ground is left totally decimated as these two cross their weapons like absolute maniacs. Si-young makes sure to not hold back. He's pushing Sangha to her limits, so she evolves fast. The battle intensifies as Si-young suddenly launches himself high into the air. He's coming down with a strike so heavy Sangha knows she cannot dodge it. But right before he lands the blow, the security team shouts out to him. They reveal that one of the survivors has finally regained consciousness. Si-young finally calls an end to their first training session, noting that Sangha has at least learned how to block. Sangha can only stare back in pure horror. She cannot believe that all that torture was only considered the very first session. Seriously. Stepping into the medical wing, Si-young asks the survivor if he is doing okay, and he nods. The man reveals a truck arrived at his prison, and some very strange people stepped out. Sangha asks if they were more hostages, but the man shakes his head. He reveals they were far too calm to be hostages, and even weirder, the monsters never attacked. It actually looked like the creatures were working with those people. A handful of the hostages were rounded up and tossed into that truck. Hearing this, the missing pieces of the puzzle finally start clicking for Si-young. He had been wondering why there were only 7 hostages left behind. When he asks about the man who escaped, the survivor gives him a chilling answer. It wasn't an escape, the villains let them go on purpose. This revelation shocks Sangha to her very core. Once the interview finally wraps up, Si-young and Sangha finally realize the absolute nightmare they are actually up against. All right, let's see. Si-young is suspicious. How could a civilian escape so easily from a place he and Sangha struggled to enter? Sangha chimes in, asking if the whole mission was just one big trap from the start. Suddenly, Si-young's voice turns cold. He wonders how these villains dare pull such a pathetic, dirty trick. Sangha is completely lost. Why is Si-young suddenly this furious? Is it because they are underestimating him, or because they used innocent lives as bait to lure him in? They press the survivor for more clues. He mentions seeing something specific on the waist of the person who got out of the truck. A cat mascot right there. Later, Sangha manages to piece the whole puzzle together. When Si-young asks how, she bluntly reminds him his phone is for more than just decoration. In Si-young's defense, though, he tells Sangha that regular guys like him still fear those massive bills from accidentally clicking the internet button. Sangha is speechless. Is he really still stuck in the early 2000s? And now, get this, they finally cross paths with the guy they have been hunting. The guy's face is absolutely covered in piercings. Si-young just mocks him, asking if he used a sewing machine to patch up that ugly face. But beneath the jokes, Si-young can tell this guy is absolutely no amateur. The villain even puts on a show, welcoming our duo to the big stage. He introduces himself as the one and only Kim Jae-hyun. He claims he will take them alive. Si-young is curious about the plan, so Jae-hyun decides to show them instead. He grabs a half-beaten man and tosses him straight into the rift behind him. Sang-ah is horrified by the sight. She assumes that anyone thrown into that rift is totally trapped until the rift itself is finally destroyed. But suddenly, the man crawls back out. He is already transformed into something truly horrific. However, Jae-hyun is not impressed. This new transformation looks way too weak for his taste. With one single kick, he sends the creature flying into the distance. Sang-ah is trembling at the sight. Is this their plan, to turn her and Si-young into those rift creatures too? Jae-hyun scoffs. Sacrificing normal people just hasn't given them the results they wanted. The second he says that, it finally clicks for us. These villains weren't after money, they were using hostages for twisted human experiments. Jae-hyun admits he does not really care about who they are. But for the sake of his boss and the great cause, he is only going to explain this once. He and his people are the descendants of Dangun. Apparently, their ultimate goal is to strengthen South Korea's global influence so that no other nation can ever mess with them. Once his explanation is over, he stomps the ground, unleashing a massive shockwave that sends cars flying into the air. Jae-hyun kicks a car toward them, but Sang-ah comes in clutch, slicing it clean in half. Si-young gets ready to fight, reminding him that their country is already a world superpower. But Jae-hyun disagrees. For him, it is nowhere near enough. Jae-hyun charges straight at them, claiming he will take the nation to heights where no one would ever dare to look. Down on them, he wants to make them the ultimate, absolute superpower. He launches into the air, aiming a brutal drop kick straight at Si-young. He brings up every bitter moment they were forced to pay tribute and bow their heads in total, shameful humiliation. As they trade blows, he screams about wanting to return every single ounce of shame they have ever suffered. Trading punches with Jae-hyun, Si-young realizes he is dealing with a Taekwondo black belt. The dude is incredibly fast, even without a weapon. A massive kick connects, sending Si-young flying through the air like a ragdoll. After that last hit, he realizes Jae-hyun is fast, but his raw power is actually manageable. He actually gets where the guy is coming from. If the corrosion rifts suddenly vanished, Korea would lose its status on the global stage. But then Si-young sees it. This squad has zero intention of saving the world. It is all a power grab. He reminds him that innocent people are dying out there, which means their safety should be the top priority. But Jae-hyun just laughs it off, claiming they have already found a way to control the rifts themselves. The second Si-young hears that, everything changes. If they can actually control the rifts, the entire balance of power is flipped upside down. No more suffering, just like that. Si-young suddenly calls for time. He tells the guy he is actually considering cooperating. He asks exactly how much control they really have. If the answer is good enough, he is willing to hand over Sang-ah right now. Sang-ah is frozen in shock as Jae-hyun speaks up. He claims they have managed to control the rifts, mostly. Si-young cuts him off. Mostly means they still do not have total control, does it not? He scolds him. The guy talks a big game, but when it comes to results, he is pure trash. He calls Jae-hyun and his crew a bunch of brainless thugs with zero clue what they are doing. That strikes a nerve. Jae-hyun snaps and lunges forward with an explosive, powerful kick. Si-young barely dodges the strike. The impact completely shatters the ground beneath his feet. Now he realizes he might have pushed the guy a little too far. He was only trying to stall for mana. The battery on his glove is down to one last charge. His only real option now is to drag this out and turn it into a war of attrition. Jae-hyun charges again, but this time, Sang-ah steps in to block him. He just sneers. Mocking her, he says he thought she was hiding in fear. As a lightning aura erupts around her, he gives her a twisted compliment. At least she has some guts. Si-young tells her to back off now, knowing she cannot handle this guy. But she is not listening. She saw his gloves hit low battery. She knows he needs a window. She just asks how long he needs. 5 minutes, that is all. Sang-ah pulls out an elixir, telling him to leave this fight to her. The elixir kicks in, making her glow intensely. Si-young worries she is going to overload herself. But she does not care. Elixirs are for emergencies, and this is definitely an emergency. Si-young urges her to hold out for 5 minutes, promising to end things right after that. As Sang-ah prepares to risk it all, she tells him to make it count when the time comes. A brutal clash begins between them, and Sang-ah pours every ounce of her soul into the fight. The tension reaches its peak. She lands a massive vertical slash on Jae-hyun, then pauses to see if he has finally stayed down. But Jae-hyun suddenly appears behind her, delivering a kick so powerful she is sent flying through the air. Blood sprays as she crashes away. Just before she hits the ground, Si-young finishes his charge and catches her. With a cold, terrifying voice, he asks Jae-hyun if he is finally ready to die. Jae-hyun is frozen in shock. He can feel the guy's mana skyrocketing. He cannot understand it. How could anyone gather this much power in such a tiny window? Total confusion sets in. He wonders if Si-young was hiding his true monstrous strength this entire time. Si-young asks why he is surprised, since he is only using the same principle as those piercings. The villain is stunned. He realizes Si-young has completely seen through his secret. Si-young tells him that only an idiot wouldn't have noticed by now. He is leaking mana everywhere, spamming a level of power he clearly cannot handle. But thanks to that carelessness, he was able to fully recover his paradox flame. Jae-hyun thinks it is all talk. There is no way to absorb mana that has already been wasted. But before he reacts, Si-young is already behind him, whispering that he does not need to know since he is dying. He unleashes a 16-hit combo, shredding the guy in every direction while unleashing massive paradox flames on him. Jae-hyun's world goes dark. He cannot breathe, and his muscles refuse to move even an inch. Si-young actually commends the dude for standing, even though his muscle strength has been completely burned away. Knowing he is dying, he pathetically begs his captain to save his life. Suddenly, a projectile streaks down from above, aiming for Si-young. Si-young senses it just in time, pulling out his spear to block the heavy strike. The attack came from above. It is the captain, standing on a nearby rooftop, hidden by a mask and a hood. He praises Si-young for blocking it, admitting he was actually looking to crush his wrist. Si-young is curious, who exactly is this mysterious guy? But deep down, he already knows, this is the captain. Even if he hates to admit it, this guy is twice as strong as him. He looks closer. He was wrong. This monster is actually 4 times stronger than he is. The captain taunts him, asking if he has no fear of death. Si-young calmly replies that fear is pointless, since he would be dead if the captain truly wanted. Since the captain is holding back, he asks if the captain is actually interested in his black flames. As he manifests the flames, they burn Jae-hyun harder, causing him pure agony. He screams for help, and the captain. He orders Si-young to extinguish the flames. He won't say it twice. Si-woo realizes Jae-hyun's mana is already completely drained. But the captain has been keeping him alive with his own energy. He knows that if the captain had aimed for his head instead of his wrist, it would have been game over. But the captain held back on purpose. Si-woo is forced to release Jae-hyun from the grip of his flames. Before Jae-hyun can even hit the ground, the captain catches him in a flash. This terrifies Si-woo because he can finally see just how fast this guy is. The captain snaps at him, telling him he just ruined Jae-hyun's life because now he'll be stuck in a wheelchair forever. The captain then draws his bow, telling Si-woo that while he'd prefer to take him alive, he doesn't need him in perfect condition. Si-woo tells him to go ahead and try because there's no way he's ever becoming a puppet. Seeing Si-woo's stubborn resolve, the captain backs off. He's too curious about those mysterious black flames to kill him now. Before vanishing, the captain warns Siwoo that one day he will definitely be under his total control. Once he's gone, Siwoo realizes he's picked a fight with someone who has a really nasty temper. Sangha walks up to Siwoo, mentioning it seems like the bad guys are really after his unique skill. Siwoo agrees, but lets her know that he has no idea why they want it so badly. Sangha wonders why they didn't just take her hostage to get to him. And Siwoo figures they might already know exactly who she is. But Sangha doubts these terrorists would ever care about her background. Siwoo tells her she needs to think about this more carefully, because these guys might actually be getting help from the Korean government. He urges her not to tell anyone, but Sangha reminds him that she's a pretty terrible liar. Siwoo says they should worry about that later and focus on the rift instead. But he tells Sangha to stay back, he's going in solo. He tells her to rest and recover while he's busy inside. Then he dives into the rift. Siwoo lands in a grade 2 zone and finds a massive undead castle right in the center. Heading toward the fortress, he can feel a truly sinister energy pouring out from the walls. Siwoo just knows the heart of this corruption is waiting behind those doors. Siwoo knows he has to be incredibly careful, or he is going to die the moment he lets his guard down. He pushes the door open and spots a giant pot in the distance. Is that cauldron the core? It is definitely not what he expected, but suddenly, a hand reaches out and grabs his leg from behind. A man looking absolutely terrible and in pain begs Siwoo to save him since his legs are already gone. Then bam! A tentacle whips out of the pot and drags the poor guy inside. Seconds later, he comes back out, but now he's a mindless undead monster. Siwoo realizes right then and there. This pot has been creating all the undead. The sight is so sickening, it makes him want to throw up. Suddenly, a chilling voice echoes through the room, marking Siwoo as just another sacrifice. But then the voice hesitates, admitting Siwoo seems a little different from the rest. The figure behind the voice finally appears. It is the core, taking the form of a swordsman. The guy unsheathes his sword. He goads Siwoo to draw his weapon, wanting to temper his blade with the boy's blood. Siwoo freezes. The sheer pressure radiating from this man is absolutely soul-crushing. This just proves how powerful the captain really is. He managed to subdue this monstrous swordsman, who now has Siwoo trembling in fear. Siwoo realizes with a shiver, there must be someone even stronger than the captain out there. But there is no time to think. Suddenly, the swordsman lunges. A flash of steel nearly takes his head off, but Siwoo barely dodges the strike. This exchange makes one thing clear: the guy he is dealing with is on another level. Siwoo decides to go all out immediately, before his opponent can spot any openings. He launches himself at the core, putting everything into one massive strike. He aims for a quick finish, but his heart drops at what happens next. The enemy blocks his maximum power effortlessly with just a single blade. What is worse, Siwoo didn't even see the guy move to block the attack. Before he can even process the speed, the world blurs around him. The swordsman strikes, his blade carving right through Siwoo's defenses. Fear sets in. This guy is way faster than anyone could have ever imagined. Surprisingly, the swordsman gives him a nod, impressed he moved his vitals in time. Since Siwoo is acting tough, the warrior decides to turn up the heat. A barrage of lightning-fast cuts follows, sending Siwoo crashing to his knees in pain. Things are looking grim. He is cornered. He has no choice. He has to ignite the paradox flame right now. But there is a problem. His opponent isn't living, so the paradox flame might not even work. Siwoo is left wondering what to do, but he forces himself up using the flame's power. The swordsman looks on, surprised the kid still has the strength to keep fighting. He wonders what it will actually take to break him for good. Before Siwoo even knows it, he gets sliced up again and again. It is getting much worse now. Every muscle in his body is shredded, and he is almost unconscious. Luckily, he can still move his upper body just enough to react. He realizes he can use the paradox flame to force his torn muscles to heal instantly. With a burst of recovery, Siwoo maneuvers behind the guy, convinced he finally has the upper hand. He goes for it, but to his absolute shock, The enemy simply vanishes, reappearing right behind him like a ghost. He mocks Siwoo for being too slow, before slamming him into the dirt. Yet he holds back the killing blow, giving Siwoo a chance to scramble away. The enemy teases him, saying he missed. Siwoo screams in rage, knowing the guy could have ended his life whenever he wanted. He demands to know if this is all just some sick game to him. The swordsman admits the truth, he could have killed him, but something in him has changed. He confesses that he cannot even remember his own name anymore. Almost every memory of his past life has simply faded into nothingness. All right, we're seeing him admit those memory-driven gaps in his sword style are actually fatal flaws. Ever since his defeat, those heavy shackles have been weighing him down. Siwoo catches on. This guy is the total opposite of him, his body remains. Yet his memories and expertise have completely faded away. Those neck shackles, you and I can see Siwoo finally connecting them to the mysterious talk from the captain and Jaeon. The villain starts rambling about everything he has lost, his name, his pride, even his reason for fighting. Now, all that is left is a deep, agonizing resentment born from sorrow. Suddenly, the swordsman begins to transform right before his eyes. Siwoo can feel it, the guy's hatred is getting even darker. But despite that aura, his actual fighting skill has clearly tanked. If he can just survive the next killing blow, Siwoo knows he has a real shot. It is time. Siwoo decides to stop holding back and lets his full power explode. The swordsman is stunned. He watches in pure disbelief as black flames wrap around Siwoo, instantly healing every single wound on his body. Siwoo slams his hand down onto the ground. The swordsman is shocked. He never expected Siwoo to be hiding such a unique ability. But he notices something strange. Those flames are burning more than fuel. Sharp intuition. Siwoo confirms it. These black flames actually burn the very concept of things. It might look like he has infinite destructive power now. But that is not exactly how this works just yet. The more complex the concept he tries to burn, the more mana it drains. It's incredibly mana-intensive. Controlling this much power is a nightmare, and one wrong move could see Siwoo swallowed by the massive backlash. If he were in his prime, this control would be child's play for him. He has been playing it safe with the flames lately. But in this desperate situation, he can't afford to be picky anymore. He looks the swordsman dead in the eye and promises to burn away durability. The enemy is totally lost, but Siwoo isn't in the mood to give him a lesson. Without warning, Siwoo lunges forward, spear aimed straight for the heart. He manages to shove the enemy back. Siwoo realizes he can take advantage of the situation now that he's found the swordsman's limit. Seeing the stakes rising, the swordsman suggests they move this chaotic fight outside. A brutal clash breaks out. They are going at each other like absolute monsters. Buildings crumble and poles shatter as they tear through the city. Suddenly, Siwoo is pinned back, and his spear gets snapped in two. The enemy swings a lethal finishing blow, but Siwoo barely avoids the direct hit. He smashes right through a boulder, charging at the enemy with blinding speed. With a primal scream, he slams his weapon into the enemy swordsman. A barrage of strikes sends the swordsman tumbling backward. Watching that insane display of raw power, the swordsman finally demands to know who he truly is. He is still trying to heal when Siwoo drops from the sky like a nightmare, unleashing perfect laser-like cuts that begin to tear his body apart. We watch as the swordsman howls in agony, his very life force beginning to wither away. You and I are jumping back in as Siwoo launches himself at the enemy again. They both land a blow, but Siwoo's strike is deeper, carving a massive diagonal gash across his foe. Agony flares, but neither side is ready to back down, yet as they scream in pain. This desperate clash triggers a memory of Siwoo's time back in that other world. He'd once been asked what happens when he faces an opponent just as strong as himself. His answer was cold and simple. Only one of them walks away alive. Back in the rift, Siwoo pours everything he has into one final, devastating strike that crashes into the swordsman with unbelievable force. Despite the exhaustion, he grins. In the end, he's the one still standing, the strongest. The phantom swordsman fades. And just like after the Grade 2 core fight, the rift drops a shiny new reward for him. He's glad the loot system works the same as back home. He opens the box to see what he got. It's a spearhead. At first, he's just staring at it, wondering how on earth he's supposed to fight. But he figures it out fast, hurling the blade across the distance before snapping it right back to him. He realizes he can use mana to extend its reach instantly. He remembers that rewards usually scale based on the number of people who entered the rift together. And he low-key regrets not telling Sangha to just hang back safely inside with him, just so she could have snagged some loot. Then he spots it, the enemy's sword hasn't vanished yet. He grabs it as a trophy before finally heading back to the surface, finding Sangha fast asleep. He tosses the sword her way to wake her up. She's instantly stunned. This isn't like any hunter gear she's ever seen in her life. Siwoo plays it cool, saying he just found it nearby. He promises it's a top-tier blade, mostly because the guy who was swinging it was an absolute beast. Sangha gives it a look and has to agree, the quality is insane. She wants details, but a totally drained Siwoo just tells her not to worry about it. He just asks if she got enough rest before his eyes roll back, and he collapses from pure exhaustion. Sangha is shocked, but seeing him like this is a reminder that even he is human. Clearing a Grade 2 rift is no small feat. You and I can see why everyone went wild when he cleared it alone. The public is losing it because even elite hunter squads would struggle with a rift that dangerous. Suddenly, his face is everywhere, on every screen and every news site. He's officially the world's biggest celebrity now. When Siwoo finally wakes up in the hospital, he realizes he's trapped. There's a massive crowd waiting outside. A bit later, a woman in glasses walks in, introducing herself as Jo Sujiang. Turns out, she's representing the Secretariat of Embargo Tower. Siwoo invites her in, thanking her for taking care of his expensive hospital bills. Still, he doesn't hide his confusion. He's literally never heard of an organization called Embargo Tower before. Sujiang explains they stay under the radar since their main focus is specialized tech. She tells him to speak up if he needs anything at all. But Siwoo says he is fine. But there is one thing he's wondering about. He knows hospital bills like this don't just get paid for free. We're about to find out what they want from him. Siwoo cuts to the chase, asking the lady exactly what they need from him. Before getting into details, Sujiang offers some cake. Once settled, she brings up the shield generator. It is a special device that creates a barrier to defend against those corrosion creatures. Essentially, the organization wants our main character to help transport this high-priority technology. She explains it is a prototype originally made in the United States. But if the mission succeeds and they mass-produce it, it could save countless areas that hunters cannot even reach. This is a top-tier mission that might actually decide the fate of humanity. Siwoo realizes this is massive, and Sujiang confirms his suspicion. They are scouting for other elite hunters to join the squad. She mentions that Jinwoo has already agreed to help them out. Hearing that specific name, he realizes this operation is huge. Next, they will be moving the generator by train. After leaving Vladivostok and reaching the Netherlands, a helicopter will take it to the United Kingdom for a test run. He wonders why they are heading to the United Kingdom. Turns out a great rift. Ristorante sits in Naples, Italy. Its dark influence spreads across Europe and into North Africa. Only the United Kingdom remains safe because it is somewhat protected by the sea. She reveals that Europe has fallen into total anarchy, with governments failing left and right. Hunter companies have taken over like lawless warlords in multiple regions. Due to this, they will also be hauling relief supplies for international organizations. This means a whole lot of people will be targeting that train. Sujiang asks if he has ever actually traveled abroad before. He says no, this high-stakes mission will be his first time leaving the country, and danger is definitely expected. Siwoo is a bit confused when she mentions Wei, revealing she will be joining him on this journey. He then requests that Sung-ho come along as well. He trusts his friend completely, and Sujiang agrees without a second thought. Siwoo is satisfied. This deal will surely expand his growing influence. A bit later, he heads to the roof. A chopper is waiting, thanks to the association president. The man admits to him that soloing that grade 2 rift totally changed his view on our main character. Now, the association will fully support all his future activities to the absolute fullest. Deep down, he is glad his raw skills made this negotiation so easy. At the same time, he wonders if the chairman knows about Jaiwoo and that group. Does the president want this current world to continue or finally come to an end? Stepping into the helicopter, he is shocked to see Seon waiting inside. Seon praises him. Stories of his deeds are everywhere now, making it harder to find someone who does not know his name. Siwoo asks where they are headed. She reveals their destination is actually a restricted army base. He wonders why, and she explains the military is actually joining this mission. Siwoo gets it. Every nation wants in on this because a success means they would finally rely less on hunters. Still, he doubts South Korea will be happy about it. He then asks about the descendants of Dangun, and Seon confirms they are a dangerous terrorist group. He mentions fighting them back on Sahyong Island. She explains the group is all Koreans, and they love popping up to sabotage hunters while they are trying to clear out rifts. After his input, like clockwork, she hands him candy. Why does she keep doing that? Just then, Seon asks if he has ever left Korea, and he is shocked because Sujiang just asked him that exact same thing. He casually replies that it is his first time, and Seon explains that this mission will lead to some major realizations, regulations, then download and filter again. According to the content theme we have image files like this. I guarantee that these images are taken from YouTube's system, Google's system, and comply with Section 107, that is Google's Fair Use Content Reuse Law. I have researched and searched for all this content. Now I will make about the process that I create a video to publish on YouTube. The software, the main software we use is CapCut. In the part with CapCut software first,